Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us. And thank you, special thanks to today's speaker, Dr. Mohammad Shukri Abdul Majid, for joining us to enlighten to how to write a winning FRGS proposal. And I am Dr. Venkata Sureshini, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Research and Industry Linkage, James University, and moderating today's session. Now, as you know, the FRGS 2002 is open from Ministry of Higher Education, which is to encourage the basic research to generate a new Malaysian knowledge that can contribute to the increasing into intellectual level, as well as the invention of new technology and nurturing the dynamic culture of with the national aspirations. So, and this workshop or webinar will help us to our staff to encourage to write for their FRGS proposal, and also increasing the quality of it. So to win this FRGS proposal, the quantity and quality both we would like to increase, so that usually we see the success rate of around 10 to 20%. So as we increase more quantity and also quality, we will increase the chance of getting more grants, as well as more number we will apply, more chance we will get. So, and also we would like to have the tips and tricks for writing a quality FRGS application. So with this, I would like to introduce today's speaker, Associate Professor Dr. Mohammad Shukri Ahmad Majid. He is a Dean of Faculty of Mechanical Engineering, UNIMAP, and he was a previous Manager of Quality and Accreditation Unit at UNIMAP. He did his PhD in Mechanical Engineering at Newcastle University, UK, and his CV is so impressive, and he had 302 publications with 48 Q1 papers with H-index of 22, cumulative impact factor of 258. And very interesting, which is very needed to this case, he acquired 70 local and international research grants, including main and co-investigator, and published several book chapters and supervised many PhD, around 16 PhD students, 28 master students with full research. He acquired many national and international awards, 28 gold and silver medals in research, and he is a reviewer for so many WOS indexed journals, and he's a grant reviewer also for many grants, National Grant Review, FRGS Grant Review for MOHE, and is a committee member and head for so many university, national and international committees. And he had trained so many webinars and workshops he conducted related to the grant writing and also the OBE workshops. So it's a very fortunate for us to have Dr. Shukri here today to enlighten us to how to write a winning FRGS. I think we will all thank Dr. Shukri for being here. And with this, I would like to introduce Dr. Shukri. So, Dr. Shukri.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So, Assalamualaikum and very good afternoon to everybody. So, first of all, I would like to thank Dr. Venkata Suresh for the invitations and for the very nice introductions. I mean, there's still a lot to learn and still a lot to share, basically amongst academics. So I think I'm happy to be here. So can I share the slides?
Yeah, yes, Dr. Shukri.
Okay. Okay, can you see the slides?
Yes. No.
Everybody?
Yes.
So again, before we start, I would like to thanks for having me today. So I'm not the expert, but I'm happy to share the so-called not the do on writing the grants, the FRGS, as well as the point of view as a panel of grant evaluation for KPT. So I think that's the two parts that maybe we can that I can share today. The viewpoint of the researcher, as well as the viewpoint of the reviewer of the grants, so you can know what, where, and what are the panel looking for in terms of reviewing your proposals. Okay. My name is Muhammad Shukri Abdul Majid. I'm from University of Malaysia Place. Currently, I serve as I mentioned, I serve as the Dean of Faculty of Mechanical Engineering Technology. Just a quick of my experience. To date, I have 10 FRGS secured since about 10 years, 2011 or so. So till now, I managed to secure 10 FRGS as the main principal investigator, and I was appointed as the KPT's FRGS and PRGS grant evaluator since 2018. So I've served. I've reviewed many proposals since 2018, and recently I was also appointed as a PPRN grant evaluator since last year. Okay. Again, my experience, as mentioned before, so to date I didn't include here two international grants, as well as e-science, FRGS. We have 10 over here, and then many others. And you can see that about 1 million plus as a principal investigator. This is my grant. If you look at here, so far we have 34 grants in my grants profile, completed, still ongoing. So we have recorded 34, not just me and my team. And this is just to show the history of as a panel, as a grant evaluator, internal for University Malaysia Police, as well as for panel for KPT. I have served, or I have evaluated 120 proposals today since 2018. So I can share a bit what will the evaluator look for in terms of your proposals, in terms of your where's the marks or the points come from in terms of your evaluation, in terms of evaluation of your proposals. Okay, for the content of today, I'll go through a little bit briefly on the objective and the definition of FRGS, the rules, evaluation criteria, and how to write a good proposal, and maybe a little bit at the end about the reasons for rejections. Okay. So as many of you know, basically these are the grants available from KPT. Okay, FRGS, ERGS, I think is no longer available. Now maybe TRGS rather than ERGS, Transdiscipline Research Grant Scheme, and we have LRGS and also Prototype, which is the PRGS. Okay, so this is the little bit on the process of evaluation when it comes to the FRGS, PRGS, TRGS, and LRGS. So normally with FRGS, we have internal evaluation within the IHL, and then you will have what they call it a penaziran. Penaziran meaning that all the RMCs from each IHL will evaluate the process of moderation or the process of evaluation conducted at each IHL, whether they are being conducted properly or not. If they feel that the evaluation, the internal evaluation wasn't done properly, meaning that there's a lot of simple mistakes or simple non-confirmed into the to the requirement was found and not detected within the internal evaluation. So during this penaziran, they can disqualify the whole submission from the IHL. The whole submissions will be disqualified or will be put aside. So that is very important. And then only then there will be the KPT's level of evaluation of the proposal. For the PRGS, TRGS, there will be a shortlisting of the proposal before they subjected to a presentation or pitching. And finally, for LRGS, I think you're talking about bigger grants, normally only applicable to the associate professor and professor level. Normally, this grant is in the millions, and the KPIs is also quite big. So, so just a quick one. This is just a mission and vision of the FRGS. You can, of course, sorry, it's in Malay, but the falsafah basically is to menggalakkan pendidikan asas untuk menjana ilmu yang mampu menyumbang kepada peningkatan tahap intelektual penciptaan teknologi baru. Basically, this is from the guidelines of FRGS 2022, the recent version. Okay, so basically we're talking about the fundamental theory, the concept, the new idea, the new impetus towards the new discovery and whatnot. Okay, so the definition is FRGS is the fundamental research that expect to yield new theories, new ideas, new standards, and new thoughts toward new learning advancement that further extend the limit of information. Basically, it's talking about why and how. Why and how in terms of the research. Okay, very fundamental. And then this is just a quick summary of the grants from the KPM, FRGS, TRGS, LRGS. So basically, if you look at the FRGS, the shilling for the amount will be 250K, and the duration is between 1 to 3 years. And this is very important. You're talking about bakat or human capital, as well as publications, and recent one is basically the development or producing of IP, intellectual properties. Okay, so rules, I think you can go through these rules and regulation from the guidelines. I think basically everything is spelled out clearly in the guidelines. Of course, I just provide a brief summary of it. You must be Malaysian citizen, permanent academic staff, or contract staff, but must have a permanent permanent staff within the members. For non-Malaysian citizen, you must have permanent staff or Malaysian citizen as a member of research within the groups. Academic staff on study leave are not allowed to be heading the project. However, they can be a research team member. Research from research institution also can apply, but must be a permanent staff. Minimum academic qualification within MSc is 5 years research experience. Can lead and submit one project only at a time. If you already have ongoing FRGS, you can apply if you already can prove that you are 75% complete with regards to your project progress. Then also must be verified by RNC. That's why if you are plan to apply, because FRGS is always open at the start of the year. So if you're planning to apply at the start of the year, the previous progress report, sometimes in August, September, you must ensure that your progress report must over 75%. So for example, if you're about 70%, when you report the when you report the progress report at the end of the year, make sure you report it as 75%, so to ensure that you are capable, you are eligible to apply a new one the following year. Okay, so this is a plan. If you are planning that to apply for next year, make sure your ongoing FRGS is already 75% completed. Then must be verified by by RMC. There are cases when the report says 75%, but it wasn't verified by the RMC of the Aisha. Okay, budget as mentioned before, 250K, duration is 2 to 3 years. This is the new one that being implemented in the last 2 years. Last year, starting last year or year before. Industrial collaboration is highly encouraged the year before, but I think this year is a must. Pattern search is a must. I think this is very simple. I'll show you how to do this later, but this looks maybe a bit difficult, but actually it's quite simple to do. Risk assessment again is a must because it's simple to do as well. So these three will there'll be additional mark to help you to secure your proposal, to secure your grants. Okay. So now we're talking about the research outcome of the FRGS. So for the duration, as I mentioned before, normally for FRGS you have 2 to 3 years. For a 2-year project, at least one MSc. Normally the allocation will be, or your proposal should be about 100K and below. For a 3-year project, the outcome should be either 1 PhD student or 2 master student, and the range should be between 100 to 180K. Although it mentioned that the shilling is 250K, but so far for most cases it's between 100 to 180K. I haven't seen FRGS been awarded beyond 200K to date. Okay. All researchers must produce at least 2 articles. Last time they didn't mention. They said there must be a publication, but now for every grants allocated, all researcher must produce at least 2 articles. Not proceeding must be 2 articles. One of these publications must be indexed by Web of Science, and one must be by Scopus. And also remember to acknowledge the FRGS. If you did not acknowledge the FRGS, it won't count it in your progress report. Okay, it will not count it as meeting the KPI given by the KPT. So this is very important. If not, you can say that you finish the grant, but in the report or in the record, it stated that the grant completed but not meeting the KPI. So now you need to have basically 2 journals. One Web of Science, another will be Scopus Index Journal. And researcher need to be performed locally, and local IP, if there's any, is belong to the IPT. Okay, of course, there'll be maybe there'll be some contribution toward the industry in your MOA or MOU, but mostly will belong to the KPT. Okay, so in short, research outcome for FRGS, you must have human capital, you must have graduate of PhD or master students, you must have research publication, must be journal, index journal, one must be indexed by Web of Science, one must be indexed by Scopus, at least. If you have 2 Web of Science, much better lah. But at least 1 Web of Science, 1 Scopus index. And last, we have you need to have intellectual property if possible. But these 2 is a must now. Postgraduate and publications. So feel free to ask questions if you need some clarifications. Okay. Okay. Some of it is in Malay. I try to boleh semua boleh Malay. Okay. So also the new one starting from last year, they have you need to identify this what we call it these domains. There'll be last time's previous proposal migrant, you need to only identify your domain, your research domain or your research cluster. But since last year, you need to define the MIST, the KIGA, which is the key economic growth activities, and you need to also identify the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals. So this will be the research domain. Normally the main one lah. Basically the engineering and technology, social science. Then you have 10 clusters within that within the each. For example, technology, engineering and technology. Then we have you need to identify your 10 socio-economic drivers, your 15 KIGAs. You need to choose one of the key economic growth activities. Then you need to choose one to relate your work with your Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. Okay. So this 15 lah, KIGA hub perniagaan kewangan, digital economy, all these hub Asian, logistic, renewable energy, and so on and so on and whatnot, and also this sustainable goal. I think everybody knows about the SDGs nowadays. So every all the ranking also looking at the SDGs as well. So these are research cluster. For example, research cluster of frontier technology. Of course, the research domain will be the engineering technology in this case, but research cluster will be frontier technologies and advanced manufacturing for me, for example. And then for Malaysia Science, Technology and Innovation Economy, we use smart technology and system. For shared properties vision, SPV 2030, we map it to the smart and high value agriculture, because we are doing this natural fiber composites. And for sustainable goals development, we map it to the industry, innovation and infrastructure. So whenever you're preparing your proposal, you need to identify this. The most important is the first two, which is the research domain and the research cluster, because you don't want to place your proposal into different research domain, because then you have a different panel that would evaluate your proposal. Then there'll be a mismatch in terms of expertise. Then easily the proposal going to get, most probably the proposal going to get rejected lah, because you sent to the wrong basket. Actually, so similar to the research cluster, because you don't want it to be in the different experts or different cluster, because you will not get the right evaluators that understand and fully appreciate your proposals. So make sure these two within your right domain and your right cluster. Okay, so just to give you the evaluation criteria. So this is very important, because this would give you the indicator, or we give you how much marks will be allocated for each of these criteria. Okay, the first one, the title. The title carries about 5%. The executive summary is 10. If you already prepare your proposal, you will, or you have experience in preparing a proposal, you will know that these are the key criteria that you need to fill up in your proposal. The title, the executive summary is 10%. The research background is 15%. The research background can normally basically all the problem statement, all the research question, the hypothesis, and the literature review. And there you have the objectives, another 15%. Methodology, basically methodology section carries the most mark, which is quarter of the total marks, 25%. Expected results, 10%. The track record and project leader and research team is 5%. Although I will tell you later, although this is only 5%, but many also proposal rejected because of this 5%. Okay. Quality of proposal, 10%. Element of FRGS criteria, 15%. And there's another 5 extra marks that will be allocated for that I mentioned earlier, which is the pattern search, the risk management, as well as the industrial collaborations. That another 5 extra mark, only available if your marks is already 75%. Okay, I'll show you why. So this is basically the actual score, and I will explain later. This is from the point of view as a panel of evaluator lah. Okay, this is the marks. If you see, if you get all the marks just now I mentioned about here, basically 79 below will not be recommended. Okay, basically if you got 79 below, basically proposal will be rejected. So recommended will be 80 to 84. Highly recommended will be 85 above. So what you want to target is 85 above. So most probably if you're 85 and above, most likely your grant going to get accepted. Your proposal going to be a successful one. Okay, so this is what you want to target. That's why if you are in this category, you may well get it, but it depends on the allocations. It depends on the head of panels, whether if you falls under this category, recommended, they will look further whether that project is within the national agenda, whether that project have a strong market, strong potential for IP, and so on and so on and whatnot. And so on. So okay, so you need to make, kalau boleh, you need to make sure that you're always in this 85 and above. That's why there are 5% extra marks from the pattern search, from the industrial collaborations, and the risk management is important because, for example, if you're 79 and you get that 5%, then you will upgrade or you will fall under into this criteria, and into this group. And if you're about say 82 or 81, if you manage to get that 5% extra marks, then you'll be upgraded or you'll be onto these highly recommended groups. Okay, so some people might tend to ignore that 5% mark, but it's actually very important in helping you to secure your grants. Okay, because it's very easy to do. I think maybe the collaboration with industry, maybe you need to find the industry, but the other two should be if you have that, should be a full marks. Okay, this is the one that I mentioned earlier. Sharing pattern, which is the pattern search, the industrial collaborations, the risk management. So last time it was encouraged or digalakkan. But I think the sharing pattern and collaboration, I think now is a must. Okay, so pattern search will give you another 2% of marks. Collaboration will give you 2% marks. Risk assessment will give you 1% of marks. So this marking criteria is only appear when the total mark has reached 75%. Of course, if you're below the 75, even you added the 5% additional mark, you will not get over 79. That's why the additional mark only appear whenever you are only 75% and above. Okay. So evaluation criteria, what are the panel looking for basically? In term when we look at the proposal, sometimes the evaluation panel, they get like 20 plus proposals to evaluate. I think the most I get in 1 year, last year is a bit okay. Previous year, a year before, I got like 20 plus proposals to review within a week. So it's quite a lot. Okay, and there's no money at all. So basically, so 20 plus proposal to review within a week is not an easy task. So this is what the evaluators will look for in order to speed up the evaluation process. So out of all these, of course, the first one, the panel will look at the title. Second, we look at the executive summary. So we won't look at others. First, we look at the title, the executive summary, and then you go to problem statement. You go for the research objectives, methodology, expected results, budget, and finally, the additional info that I mentioned earlier, that three pattern search, collaboration, and also the risk management. Okay, so these are the 8 items the panel would look for in your proposals. Of course, when we were briefed, we need to read through the proposal from front to back, of course. But of course, the evaluator will find some criteria that easily they can look for flaws, and easily that they can find mistakes, and they can reject the proposal based on technicality. So these are the 8 criteria that would scrutinize and look for whenever they want to reject the proposals. Okay. Normally for myself, I'm considered a new evaluators within the group lah. So normally, whenever the head of panel say you need to read from the front to back, of course we read from front to back and try to evaluate all the criteria. But I would say that there are some evaluators, which is the senior evaluators, these professors, these emeritus professors. So normally they will look at the technicality, how they can reject the proposals. Because if they reject, no one could basically argue, because they are well-known professor and on. So basically, that's why these are the things that you need to look for in terms of preparing your proposals. Okay. Okay, the first one, just writing a good proposal. This is some of the group proposal that I think some of my sample myself, and also some of maybe sample from my groups, and maybe sample from the one that I've reviewed before. Okay, this is the first one. This is mine, the one I've got in 2019. It is still active. So you can see that whenever you get this remark, you normally will be happy. And extremely well-written project, a pleasure to read. Research on conductivity of insulators at the nanoscale is a challenging but promises great and exciting results. Therefore, this project is recommended for fundings. So this is the kind of remarks that you would like to have from the evaluators. So this is about 127K. The next one, then we have this. For these 2 projects, the elucidating the synergy mechanism of hybridized fire retardant in natural fiber reinforced composites is also mine. So you can see that it's a well-written research proposal, good proposal, little improvements needed prior to the final submissions. And finally, this is from my research group as well. Correlation between the size, type, and distribution of fillers and the effective dielectric properties of hybrid carbon nanotubes, cellulosic fiber fail PLA composites. The project. So this is the comment. The proposed project aim at evaluate the interfacial properties of carbon nanotubes, cellulosic fiber, and PLA composite, and their influence on the dielectric and electromagnetic properties of PLA composites. This led to novel findings and high impact factor publication. It has important element of Rajans, thus recommended. So this is the type of comments that you would after in terms of preparing your proposals. Okay. So, so now we go through the criteria that I mentioned earlier. All these titles, executive summary, problem statement, and all these criteria that the evaluator looks for. Okay. Okay, semua. Everybody's okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Doctor.
Very good.
Okay. Takut I cakap seorang, I tak nama.
Yeah.
Ada kat sini, Doktor.
Okay. Okay, first we look at the title. Writing a good proposal, first, this title carry about 5%. Okay, of course, very rare lah kita tolak. We reject the proposal based on the title because I would say later on I'll show you why. Okay, title to reflect the fundamental issue to be researched. Okay, avoid this word development of, application of, design of, and etc. Because in the title, because this reflect applied research. So a big no. Try to avoid altogether development of, application of, design of, and so on. Okay. Also avoid words that give no or little meaning to the title. Sometimes kalau you tengok last time in previous, maybe in early days, you always find project title that start with fundamental study of, study on, investigation on, the effect on, because this would give no or very little meaning to the title of the project. So you just go straight into the title, elucidating, formulating, straight to the word, what you want to do with the within your project. Basically, a good title should reflect what are the deliverables, how and why, and its significance within more or less 15 words. Okay, for example, these are some of the successful titles from past proposal that I managed to extract from my record of evaluating before. So, for example, the first one, heat evolutionary and mechanism of alkali activated materials toward cementitious properties under various different ratio of the I think it's SiO2 aluminum oxide or something. Okay. Second one is dynamic behavior of tropical residual soils under cyclic loading of high-speed railways. So they're talking about looking at the dynamic behavior of the soil, because you know the high-speed railway, you have all this cyclic movement. So they want to see what is the dynamic behavior of the soils under the railways. And then the third one, enhanced impedance based on a wide area fault location algorithm for the improving electrical energy security. You can see this will be the what is they want to do. This will be their methodology, or what they want to how they would achieve, and this will be what is the significance of the study. Like I said earlier, what are the deliverables, how and why will relate to the significance of the project. For example, next is the elucidation of the effect of lauric acid on the mitochondrial dysregulation in insulin-resistant macrophages. So they try to describe the effect of lauric acid on this dalam insulin-resistant macrophages. Dual functionalizations of nanocrystalline dolomite. So they want to look at the dual functionalizations. What they do is to improve the matrix nanofield interactions and mechanical performance of biomedical polyethylene covinyl. And finally, enhanced tribological behavior. Basically, sama lebih kurang macam ni. They want to look at how to enhance the tribological behavior of what is the subject is the ultra high molecular weight polyethylene, and this will be their methodology, which is treated dolomite inclusion. So these are the type of successful past proposal. So try to avoid all these development of, fundamental studies of, study of, because that will give you very little meaning, and basically it won't get rejected. But this is the mark. Basically, all of this mark, I just forgot to mention, all of this mark this is the mark 5%, 10%, 50%. All this is given on the 1 to 10 Likert scale. 1 to 10 Likert scale. Okay. So for example, if you got 10 out of 10, you get 5 marks for the title. You got 10 out of 10 for the executive summary, you get 10 marks from the executive summary. Researchers must know that during the evaluation, during the marks, you must get 5 and above. If you get any of these criteria below 5, which is 4 and below, the proposal will get automatically not recommended. For example, this. Look at the first title here, characterization, the project title here, characterization of failure mechanisms and barrier properties of graphene puff. This puff is a pineapple leaf fiber polylactic acid hybrid nanocomposites. I think this is also from my research group, maybe one of my colleague. So the comment here, characterization is not a good terminology for fundamental research because it's just characterized. But what is the fundamental nature that you are invested on? It's just a characterization, but what is the fundamental nature of that you're researching? Okay, so again, what are the fundamental issues to be resolved? So in this case, the score is 6. And you get 3 marks because the total mark is 5. So and the Likert scale is 1 to 10. You got 6. So I'm just saying that you must get 5 and above. Whenever you get 4 and below, automatically the proposal will get rejected. You fall under that not recommended groups. That's why you need to ensure that all the criteria you must get 5 and above. That's why I mentioned earlier. Sorry, this one. Whenever you get all these, if you get any of these 4 over 10 and below, you got rejected. That's why sometimes like this one, track record and project leader research team. Even though it's 5%, but this is another one that sometimes panel look for and easily they can reject the proposal. Sometimes they say, okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. So, so the track record, if they see, like, for example, you're talking, if you have a, they don't see the capacity or the project leader don't have the expertise to carry out the research. Even though it's 5%, the evaluator can easily put 4 out of 10 and the whole he don't need to read he don't need to read through the proposal, because he said that the track record and project the track record of the project leader is not sufficient enough, it's not good enough to carry out the project. So it falls under the 4 out of 10. So it will not look at other criteria and the project got rejected. Okay. Okay, so another one here, durability assessment on the enhancements of novel structure made by fiber metal laminates with nanofiller composites. Here they got 6. So the total marks actual score is 3. The comment here, the fundamental nature of the project seems unclear. Tapi is still the project, dia dapat low marks lah. Best is you get 10 out of 10, then you get 5 marks, full marks. But in this case, you got 3 marks out of 5. So it's still not rejected, but it's not a good start lah, because the project title already, you already lose 2 marks. Okay. now we go back, go to the another major criteria, which is the executive summary. Okay, kalau you tengok, if you look at this here, please include the problem statement, objective, research methodology, expected outcome, and significance of the output. So in this executive summary, is a compared is very important that all researcher must follow this and have all these elements in your project or executive summary. You need to have all your problem statement, objective, research methodology, expected output, and significance of the output. So for example, on this one, this is the problem statement for this project. Polymers are widely used but limit the application due to the increasing device densities and electronic efficient heat become release of heat become essentials. The requirement for the materials used in this application include high thermal conductivity and then insulation to prevent current leakages from the electronic circuits. So basically, they detail out the problem statement. This is the objective. The research aim is to elucidate the filler matrix mechanism of hybrid nanocomposites to enhance the thermal and electrical properties with lower filler contents. So this is the very detailed, good research methodology. And then here you can see the expected outcome and the significance of the outcome. Because if you see here the output significant, they put the output significance first. The output significance is expected to provide a much needed understanding of the filler matrix interaction mechanism for 60% volume or less filler content. Also, the thermal conductivity and volume resistivity of a composite are expected to achieve ranges of this and this, respectively, which is the expected outcome. So it's very clear. You follow each of these problem statement, objective, research methodology, expected outcomes, and significance of the outcomes. Everything is clearly indicated within your executive summary. So this is what you expected in your executive summary. This is what the evaluator panel would expect from your executive summary. So with this, you can easily got 10 out of 10. You can easily got 10 out of 10, or maybe worse, 9 out of 10. Okay. This is another example. Okay, problem statement, objective, research methodology, and this is the expected outcomes and the significance of the outcomes. You can see that here maybe the author deliberate a bit more on the objectives and maybe a bit less on the research methodology, but all in, everything's are available. All the component required in the executive summary is evident. Okay. Okay, this is another one. You got PS, problem statement. You got slide on the objective, research methodology, and very little on the expected outcome, but yet no significance of the outcome. So this is not a good example because you can see the proportion is talk too much or write too much on the problem statement, but very little on the objectives and the research methodology. So you probably won't gonna get 4 out of 10 and get rejected, but definitely going to get a not so high in terms of marks, maybe 5 out of 10 or maybe 6 out of 10. So again, then you lose another 5 or 4 marks from your total from the total marks lah, basically. Okay. Now we go to the research background. So basically, background normally consists of problem statements, hypotheses, and research questions. And researcher need, the author need to prepare this, and you need to ensure that this is correlate to one another. And in fact, this need to correlate to the objective as well. But research background, quite a high marks, 15%. So you need to highlight the problem statement. You need to elaborate more from your executive summary. Okay, so you don't need to add any citation in your executive summary, but you need to, when you elaborate the problem statement in your background, you can support your problem statement with citing the recent reference that relevant to the problem statement that you are tackling on. Okay, so it would best to have reference to support your problem statements. And hypothesis, again, from your problem statement, you should come up with your hypothesis, how the problem will be solved, and how what you're gonna get, what is the expected outcome or the results that you will expect. And research question, why and how. Basically, why and how in your research will solve the problem statement. Okay, and literature review, also part of the research background. Highlight the previous research, short but sufficient. Yang ni selalu we also encounter when you see the literature is lengthy. Sometimes there are a couple of times I found a literature review from the proposal where they cited like 50 references. So from the evaluator point of view, we don't expect you to have 50 references. It should be max. It should be between 12 to 15, and maximum maybe only up to 20. So you don't expect 50 references cited in your literature review. That sometimes will indicate that the subject matters have been addressed quite advanced and has been addressed by researcher in recent time. So might not be fundamental that we want to tackle now. Okay, consistent. The literature must be consistent with the problem statement and objective, and only cite significant and recent references within 5 years. Very important. At least 80% of your references must be within 5 years. Some people say that because some of the references is still very relevant, even though it was beyond the maybe from 2000, from 1992 or so, whatever. But it won't, maybe one or two, but 80% would be needed to be within 5 years. Must be relevant and within the 5 years. If possible, try to make it 100% of the references within the 5 years. That's the best as possible. Tapi if you want to include one or two from the from the guru who probably come up with the algorithm, for example, so you can include one or two. But as I said, 80% should be recent and relevant references. Memang kalau kita last time we found 50, 60 references, memang most of the time the proposal will get rejected because we don't think that is needed to be studied here anymore, because it's been well covered by other people. Okay, and problem statement here. This is just an example, just to show you. Problem statement: integrated optical interferometric biosensor sense refractive index RI changes, and they describe. So basically, it's very simple. It's basically, maybe this is just coming from their problem statement. There's no supported by the references. So at least you need to elaborate your problem statement and supported by maybe one or two references, so that to show that this is the problem is still being investigated and still relevant to these days. Hypothesis: to distinguish between specific. Clearly, this is not even hypothesis. If you prepare proposal before, you can see clearly this is not even a hypothesis. To distinguish between the specific and non-specific binding in the study of polarized light to, and the English also something wrong with the English and everything. So this is not a hypothesis that we look for. Research questions: what are the effect of SU signal? Made the effect. So again, try to stick to how and why. Okay, So kalau tengok comment from the evaluators-nya, problem statement could be elaborated further with the support from recent citation. As I mentioned earlier, the hypothesis is wrongly written. The RQs should ask how, why, and what. No highlight relations to the government policy that meet the national agenda. This is another smaller criteria that maybe you need to highlight the government, whether how the proposal is in line with the national agenda. This is another example. You can see that hypothesis, the increase in the predictions capability. Again, this is not even hypothesis. And they even put a citation in there. So again, this probably coming from a new, maybe a young researcher. Basically, they don't understand the hypothesis. The hypothesis was wrongly written. Does not reflect the true hypothesis. 12 out of 24 references were over 5 years. Kalau you tengok dekat, maybe I tak tunjuk ni apa in term of dia punya literature review. So this is quite 50% of those references over 5 years. So again, it's not a good literature review. It may not get rejected, but still you're going to get a low marks out of 15 marks. Say for example, you only get 6 out of 10, then again you lose mark out of 15. Should pose more research questions to address the problem statement. They have a problem statement here somehow. The research question is only which of damage modes for bolted joints in composite value, only one. It doesn't even highlight the how and what would is expected from the research questions. Okay, so that'll be your research background. Now we move to the next one, which is the objective. As I mentioned, objective 15 marks. This is the easiest 15 marks you're gonna get because it's only objective. The objective alone would give you 15 marks. Kalau tengok tadi dekat apa executive summary, you kena ensure that your executive summary cover all those elements to get 10%. And then for research background, you need to do the problem statement, you need to do the hypothesis, research question, and literature review to get 15 marks. For research objectives, there is 15 marks alone. So this is the easiest mark you should get. And for us also, for the evaluated, normally we get very rare the researcher get wrong lah, basically. Normally you can always get 8, 9, 10 marks in your objectives. So objectives need to reflect the research outcome of the problem issues, need to address the RQs. Normally you have the research question earlier, the objective must address that research questions. Kadang-kadang you tulis research question lain, somehow your objective try to find other things rather than to address your research questions. Used to investigate, examine, elucidate, recommend, propose, to come up, to correlate, to formulate as your nouns ataupun in your proposals. Avoid to study, avoid to characterize, to measure, to use, or to compare. Not clear. Never use. You need to avoid, but maybe for some field you still can use to characterize. You maybe can use to measure, for example, but never use to fabricate. To design to certain extent you need to follow through. I mean, if you to design to come up with a algorithm, a new algorithm, for example, that's fine. But to design methods, to design, that's not within the FRGS scope. Or to develop, it's not within to FRGS scope. So I give you another examples here. Objective, you can see that. This question here. What are the effect of band gaps of MOF 199 and UIO 66 when doped with each other with other non-lead transition methods such as tin and antimony with various atomic compositions? So you can see the research objective to synthesize or biometal and wire using green metal. I'm not sure whether they address the research question or not. To fabricate here, as I mentioned, to avoid this word fabricate and wire via ligand modulator method. Again, I'm not sure whether they address the objective addressing the research question or not. It's not directly relate to the research questions. To characterize structural properties, what properties they're looking for. So it's not clear to characterize photovoltaic properties. Again, it's not clear. And never mentioned here at all about structural properties as well as the photovoltaic properties. So this is clearly really bad or really poorly worded objectives. And in fact, for this one, you can easily get rejected or get 4 out of 10. I would give 4 out of 10 for this one. Then you get automatically rejected without me having to look at through other component, other criteria of the proposals. Okay. This is another example. Research question. Okay. How the interactions between the hybrid nanofillers carbon can improve the thermal properties of the composite materials due to the intrinsic differences in the microstructure, and the interfacial thermal resistance between filler and material is very high, which is favorable for the transportation of phonon vibration across the interface metric filler. So here they're talking about to examine the enhanced transport properties based on this transportation of phonon vibration across the interface filler. And so here, what is the aspect ratio of nanofillers? Filler dispersion and distribution and interfacial thermal resistance between filler and matrix to elucidate the hybrid nanofiller interaction mechanism, which is the interaction mechanism between the highly electrically insulating and thermally conductive composite to elucidate the parameter control, which is these parameters. So basically, all the 3 objectives address these 2 research questions. Okay. Similarly, for this one, this is the research question. You can see, I believe this is one. You can see how the synergistic flame retardant mechanism between the various flame retardant, all these 3, and epoxy polymer can improve the flame resistance as well as the mechanical properties. And straight away, if you look at the objective, to examine the synergistic flame retardant mechanism, which is directly address the first research questions. You can see the second research question, what are the factors that govern the flammability of natural fiber composites? And you can see the objective 2, to elucidate the factors that govern the flammability of natural composites, fiber composites. Then you can see that this objective is to address the research question number 2. And finally, what are the best optimum parameters to achieve the fire retardancy in natural fiber composite from the synergistic effect of various fire retardant fillers? And now, for the objective to propose the best optimum parameters to achieve this fire design clearly and directly to address the research questions. And of course, this research question will develop based on the problem statements. Okay. So that's for the objective. That's why I said, for this one, you can easily got 10 out of 10 for the objectives. Easily you can get 10 out of 10 for the objective. So sorry, the 10 out of 10 for 15 marks. You can get 15 marks easily. Okay. Okay, next is research methodology. As I mentioned earlier, research methodology is the criteria that carries the most marks. It's a quarter marks of your total proposal. It's 25%. And within this research methodology, you need to write up the research methodology as well as the research activities. You need to come up with the milestones as well as the flow charts. Okay, so first of all, the research methodology must reflect the research objectives. Okay, jangan you buat lain. Somehow you talking about different in element within your research objective. Somehow you didn't address the research objective. Better to make it clearer. Make sure it divided into different phases or different stages that can be relate to your flowcharts. I show you a good flowcharts later. Okay, to determine the research activities in clear in detailed manner, only technical activities to be included in the research activities. Try to avoid most mistake we found, especially from the young researchers, that they include all the literature's review, all the procurement, experimental setup within your experimental activities. So this is not technical. This is something that you have to do regardless. So you no need to include this in your research activities. This is something that we see every year. Sometimes procurement also included in the research activities. Okay, for the 2 years proposal, make sure you have 4 milestones minimum. For a 3-year project, make sure you have a minimum of 6 milestones, each 6 months for each milestone. But that's minimum lah. If you want to have more, better. But minimum 4 milestones for 2-year project and 6 milestones for a 3 years project. Okay, that's what I did anyway. Okay, so this is one of the examples that I would say that poorly prepared flowcharts. The flowchart not even giving any indication where to start and where to finish. You can see that the flowchart is only one direction from start to end. There's no decision making. There's no data. There's no information on the project methodology. The project methodology that was written should complement with the flowchart. The flowchart need to complement the methodology writing. Okay, everything here must be available on. For example, if the evaluator look at the flowchart, you would understand much clearer with regards to what you plan to do. Okay, so in here, I don't see, for example, structural characterization of the pristine dope powder. I don't see. Is this for objective? What objective? Which phase of the project and everything? You not see clearly the progress of the project within the flowchart. Okay, the flowchart should indicate the objective, should indicate the time frame, should indicate where is the decision making is made. Okay, so normally again this kind of flowchart will get very low marks lah. Okay, I show you example of methodologies. Okay, sorry. So I show you example of these methodologies. I think this is not a so good one. You can see that very simple. As I mentioned earlier, these are 25 marks, a quarter of the total marks, and you need to be very detailed. Need to be very sound when it comes to what you want to do. Okay, your plannings. For example, in here it says that material selection, purchase, and experimental setup. And I say again, of course you can include this, but it's not supposed to be in your list of activities. Okay, synthesis, fabrication or MOF, based in film and PSC type. It's very simple, one-liner, and not much of, for example, structural characterizations, as synthesized and write and as well. It's basically you don't see. You cannot, and this is, if you look at the proposal, the flowchart also, you cannot really complement. You cannot understand much when it comes to the description of the methodology. Okay, so this is again very poor one. I wouldn't reject it outright, but again, this can easily give you, then you lose 12 marks already. Imagine that. Then you definitely your proposal will not get approved. Okay. I think it's from the same proposal. You can see in the list of activities, it's mentioned there, materials and experimental setup. Yeah. Okay, you can see that from the activities, you can see that the materials and experimental setup, purchase and deliveries, it takes them 5 months to do this. To do just experimental setup and all this, applying all these purchases. So this is, it's not acceptable at all. Only this took 5 months to do. Synthesis of materials, of biometal, then this is another 6 months. And basically it's very structural characterization, fabrication, optimization. Again, it's not a good writing for the objective, for the activities. And again, you can see this, completion of material setup, 10%. Even to buy, to prepare the experiment is already a milestone. It shouldn't be a milestone. It's something that you need to do anyway, anyhow. Okay? Excuse me. Okay? And okay, I'll go again. So from the comment here, the methodology presented is brief. Synthesis, fabrication, and characterization are not fundamental in nature. In addition, the flowchart is fully prepared and did not provide a clear overview of the methodology. So again, as I mentioned earlier, from here you cannot see. There's no time frame. There's no objective where clearly what are the object. No feedback loops, decisions in and the correct diagram for the flowchart. You need to prepare a proper flowchart. Where you have a data flowchart, where you have a decision making and so on. Okay, this is another example of poorly prepared. I would say poorly prepared description of methodology. One thing different than before. In this, you have phase 1 and phase 2. You should have indicate phase 1 and phase 2. Okay, phase 1. Tapi here they put it scientific findings from literature review based on previous research on this. Again, you can do this in your methodology, but not in your, but I don't think you need to elaborate much on this, because in any research, we need to do literature review to find out whether our research is in line with the current trend, what is the recent findings in the subject matters and so on and so forth. So fabrications, specimen, physical and mechanical, again, it's not, it's very, it's not really fluid, it's not well written and so on. Prototype of actual blade. So prototype shouldn't even be here. You're not supposed to do a prototype in your FRGS at all. So this can easily got rejected just because we have the prototype of the actual blade. Okay, you can see the list of activities for the same project. Scientific findings from literature review, and this takes 2 months. This shouldn't be here. Preparation of sample, another 2 months. Specimen need to follow standards, another 2 months. Physical experiment. So basically it takes like 6 months from without having any significant work, because all these three is something that we need to do anyway. So it shouldn't be in the list of activities. You don't need to detail it in the list of activities. Only list of activities within the technical aspect of research only to be included. Somehow you have prototype here some more. So this is really bad, poorly prepared. Again, list of activities. Same here, literature and milestone literature preparing of specimens. This is, again, can easily got rejected. In fact, this type of proposal or this type of error shouldn't even been sent for evaluation at the KPT level. The IHL should screen this type of proposal and ensure that this type of proposal will get commented by the internal evaluator, and the researcher need to revise this type of proposal so that this won't go out to the KPT level. If this goes out, and during the penaziran I mentioned before, if this is found by the during the penaziran, and the IHL may well be found not doing their internal screening properly, and then the whole proposal from the IHL will get rejected because they would query about the internal evaluation process. Okay, because this clearly meaning that the internal process is not being well done, and then the mechanism of screening internally is not being well placed within the IHL. Okay, so in this year again, similarly, the methodology is poorly written. The first phase is merely a sample prep and standard characterization work. The milestone also probably poorly prepared. The flowchart is poorly prepared with no indication of the achievement of the objective. The milestone should be written as completion of task. Currently, completion of phase 1, phase 2. Ni tiba-tiba ada somehow got suddenly we have experimental. What experimental is not even elaborate here, so it's poorly prepared. Milestone should be written as a completion task, and LR should not be a milestone. Okay, this is the comment from the evaluator. Okay, this is the, I'm not sure, this is a methodology, sample of methodology as well. Again, not well written because they don't, as I mentioned, you need to have a phase 1, phase 2, then you can relate that to your flow chart later on. I show you good ones, but this one, again, you have panel preparation takes 4 months, sample preparation takes another 4 months before actual work even begin. Then you have characterization test, but I'm not sure what type of characterization. So this one you can relate to the flow chart, whether the flow chart gives you indicate what characterization test that you need to do and so on. So, but here you can see that toward the end you have the report writing. Again, report writing shouldn't be in the list of activities. You can write it in the methodology, but that's not supposed to be your list of activity because you need to report at the end of it. Same goes for the milestone. Somehow you have all these sample preparation, panel preparations, sample cutting also somehow become milestones, which is really, really bad milestones. Okay, and somehow you have all this development and so on and so forth. So methodology is poorly written, no phase in the project and the stages which the objective to be achieved, milestones also poorly prepared. Okay, this is a good flowchart, example of a good flowchart. You can see that everybody can see this, yeah?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, you can see that. You can see this stage 1. Stage 1 will be your phase 1 in your methodology when you write your methodology. Okay, so stage 1 also appear in your flow chart, and then this is the type of activities that you'll be doing, and then you have a decision making here. Then you go to stage 2 and stage 3. So this would relate back to your methodology. Okay, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and phase 4 and phase 5. And then within this flowchart also you can see the time frame for the phase 1, for another 5 months for phase 2, 4 months for phase 3, 12 months for phase 4, and another 3 months for phase 5. And then you can see also this is objective number 1, objective number 2, and this is all objective number 3. So within this flowchart alone, it gives you an overview of your methodology writing that you write earlier. So this is the type of, I would say, what the evaluators expect from your flowcharts. Okay, for example, I think it's the same one here. So this is the list of activities. Nanoparticle surface treatment, surfactant, natural dispersion unit, and dispersion are to be explored. Straight away, they explore the surface treatment, the surface type, and a few parameters that to be explored. The preparation of a hybrid nanocomposite at different percentage nanofillers, rheology investigation, perform differential scanning, calorimeter, thermal, electrical conductivity measurement. You can see that all this is the technical activities rather than preparing sample and so on and so forth. Okay, and if you look at the if you look at the description, it's completion of stage 1, hybridization between the stereolytic filament and dispersion techniques, completion of stage 2, completion of stage 3, and this is all reflected in your methodology earlier. Okay, so this is what the panel or evaluators will look for when it comes to the your research methodology. Okay, again, I would like to highlight and stress that these carry 25% of your marks. Okay, so if you manage to get 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, then your proposal have a strong and most likely going to get approved. So it's very important. So next is the expected results and outcome, and this is for 10 or 5%. Outcome should come in, should be in line with the objective. Of course, the expected result should be following the criteria, new hypothesis, publication in index journal. I would as I mentioned earlier, human capital and advancement of society and economy. For example, this is the previous form lah. Sekarang yang baru punya, dia akan mention what are the ISI, what are the Scopus journal, index journals. Okay. Again, for I try emphasize that for 2 years project, you need at least 1 master project. For a 3-year project, PhD graduate is preferred, but you can also have 2 master project student. Tapi as I said, PhD graduate is preferred. Okay. So this one, not so good one. Number of publication just letak 2 saja, tapi don't give any indications what publication, whether it's ISI or not, whether there's any impact factor and so on and whatnot. Then this is the expected results, novel theories and the impact statement on the quintuple helix. This is a new one, not new one lah. Basically, this is something that you need to fulfill. Of course, these are novel theories to establish the assembly fabrication process of conductive filler and nanocellulosic fiber. I think this one is the one that I've got in last year. Exhibit enhanced insight on the thermal conductivities of hybrid nanocellulosics and conductive filler of polymer composites, and the finding of relationship between this method with, okay, including the EMI. Inilah basically. Okay, so you can see that impact statement on this. You can put a statement on the academic impact, industry impact, and social and environmental impact. Okay, try to at least have all this in terms of society, academia, government, and industry environment. So in this case, I put academic, industry, which is under here, and then society and environmental impact, environment and society. Okay, so this is, like I said, this is the new format. In here, for example, here we in this particular one, the one that I've sent last year, you need to explicitly say for Web of Science. In this particular case, we promise or we commit for 2 ISI journals, Web of Science journals, and 2 Scopus Index journals. Then you write down what journals you are expecting and the information on the impact factor and the quartile if possible. Try to put more than 1. If you promise 2, try to put more than 2, Because if one get rejected, for example, in composite part B, you can always send to other publications. Okay, for these two scopers, one is Journal Technology and another is IOP Journal of Conference, Physics Conference. So this is for Scopus Index journal. This is for ISI or Web of Science journal. Okay, so if you're for a 3 years project, as I said, for the you need for every grants allocated, you need to have at least one Web of Science and one Scopus Index. If you promise like this 2 and 2, you need to deliver 2 and 2. Okay. And this is the application. This is number of students. For example, this one is one PhD student. One master students. And this is for one IP. Don't just write one IP. Try to put what is the IP you are expecting. The new superior thermal conductivity and efficient electromagnetic interference shielding of hybrid polymer composite with nanocellulosic fibers and in conductive filler content below than 60% volume. So number of IP1, it can be it can be a copyright, it can be a patent, it can be a design, IP design, whatever. Okay. Okay, that will be your expected outcomes. Again, this is 10 marks, I think. Again, it's very basic, something that everybody should target 10 marks. Okay. Track records and project, this is the one that, although it's not much, it's only 5%, as I mentioned earlier, but this is also somewhere or one of the criteria that the evaluator will look for and easily can reject the whole proposal based on the expertise or track record of the PI and the research team. Okay, CV is a must. For a PI maximum, your CV is 5 pages max. And for a co-researcher, you need to have a 3-page CV maximum. Don't include a 10-20 pages length of CV. Maximum 5 pages for PI, principal investigator, and for co-researcher only 3 pages maximum. Okay, if you don't include your CV, if you don't attach your CV, make sure your migrant profile is updated. Your migrant profile is updated with all the details, your impact factor, your H index, your publications, and everything. Okay, so that also important. Tapi I would suggest you just attach your CV lah. Of course, you also updated your migrant profile, but at the same time try to attach your CV. Record of previous grant, record of previous publications. So if you have a good publications dalam you punya proposal tu, kalau tengok if you update your migrant profile, the list of publication will appear in your proposal. If you have a good record of publication in good, with a good impressions to the evaluator that you can deliver. You can deliver. You have no problem to deliver. Every year you have a ISI ranked journal publications or conference Scopus journal publications. So when the evaluator can see that, they know that you can deliver that. So it's then they happily approve in terms of the track record of the PI. Okay, industrial collaborator is a must. Please limit your team maximum 5. This should be excluding. Limit your team at maximum 5, excluding PI. So if you're including the PI, then the total will be 6 in your research proposal. 6 collaboration researcher within one proposal. Don't exceed more than that. Don't include 10, 7, 8, 9, 10 within your research grants. maximum of 5 excluding PI. And finally, try to have a balanced group. Balanced group as it mirrors the group reputations. For professor, try to have use this opportunity to mentor maybe young researcher, to have our senior lecturer, our lecturer to join in. Of course, for a young lecturer, for a senior lecturer, or for maybe a very new researcher, try to have your Professor Mandia, your associate professor and professor to be part of your research team to have their expertise and their record in guiding you within your research. So because if the proposal is only sent by a group of young researchers, then the panel might not see the strength in terms of the capacity of the research group to deliver. Okay, because everybody, for example, if the proposal is prepared by a staff who just finished their PhD within last 2 years, for example, and all the team member also the same experience, so the panel might not convinced with the track record and not convinced with the team ability to deliver the KPI as mentioned, students, as mentioned, the publication, so on and so forth. Okay, so this is examples. This is again, I think this previous example, the hexagonal unit cell-based degradation model of the prediction damage in the mechanical fasten joints in composite. You can see that you're talking about composite track record in terms of projects that were given before to this researcher. Prototyping of the unmanned underwater glider for oceanographic applications. You're talking about the automotive. You're talking about the unmanned underwater vehicle. Talking about subsea intervention. You're talking about underwater research, subsea surveillance, and somehow tiba-tiba dia minta grants on prediction of damage mode in mechanically fastened joints in composites. So this is definitely going to get rejected because we don't see the track record of the PI to deliver or to conduct this research, because his expertise totally in different areas. So the comment here, no recent CV was provided. The main researcher's research background is not composite adhesive, nor computational mechanics, but rather robotic and unmanned vehicle. So this one memang rejected. So even though the mark is 5, normally I'll get and below out of 10, and the whole proposal going to get was rejected. Okay. This one, I would say this. I think again, this was for my team last time. This is my collaborator from Institute Putra Malaysia. My colleague, Dr. Rizwan, is now also associate professor. My colleague from used to be from UIA. Sorry. Sorry.
Sorry, Dr. Sukri, please go on.
Okay, sorry. I thought there's a next question. Okay, and also my friend of mine from UPM, Professor Tariq bin Hamid Sultan. So we have a different expertise, but all within the composites area. Okay, and then you can see that this is our record into publication. We have well-known publication in Q1 journals. You can see that all these Q1 journals. So this would give a good impression to the evaluators in terms of our capacity to deliver the outcomes, the project outcomes. Okay, so that although as I said, it's only 5 marks, but it can easily turn out to be very vital in terms of rejections. Okay. Budget, when you look at the budget, always make sure that you give itemized budget when it comes to details of the budget item and to be sensible, of course. Remember, 2-year project is within 100K and 3 years project within 100K to 180K. Make sure the budget in line with the methodology described earlier. This is also something that a mistake from the researcher. They describe something else in the methodology, and they request budget that wasn't described in the methodology. For example, they request to rent equipment, for example, some equipment from UTM, but it was never mentioned that that test to be done or that test is to be carried out in the methodology. So then we as an evaluator will query why you include this budget for rent, whereas it's not evident or it's not clearly explicitly explained in your methodology. Okay, so make sure that every budget that you include in your in the proposal must in line with your methodology. Also, traveling. Vote 21 for traveling, detail for traveling. Make sure that you have all details for traveling plans, where to, the frequency, and so on. International conference. Make sure you provide detail of the international conference. So normally international conference they will announce earlier. So for example, next year international conference normally is already announced this year, so you can always include that in your proposal. Make sure for international conference, overseas travel, it can only be done second year onwards. You cannot do in the first year. Okay, for international conference, you can only do after second year onwards. Okay, and only for ketua pendidik, head of researcher, the PI and the researcher. Consumable, again, need to be itemized in line with the methodology, professional service, the specimen preparations. If you are to conduct the test, for example, for SEM, scanning electron microscope, need to be done maybe in UPM, USM, or even within your IHL, but need to pay. You need to include your budget for the professional service, the proofread services, conference fee in vote 29, and finally vote 35. For me, vote 35 you can apply, but for me, I always try to avoid vote 35. First is very difficult. Selalu vote 35 is very expensive. If you want to buy maybe a smaller equipment, cost about 5,000, that you can apply, but you need to include all the quotations. But you need to provide the quotation and justifications. I forgot to remember, they also sometimes researcher would request in vote 29 a budget for training. So again, I would suggest to avoid any request for training budget, because that would give a poorly impression on the team, because it's as if that the team don't have the capacity, or the team don't have the expertise to carry out the project and needed to be trained. Okay, in earlier track record, you say that you have all these publications, you have all these group balance with the professor, with the associate professor within your team. Somehow you request for budget for training. So it's always recommended to avoid any request for training unless necessary, unless something that you can justify for. Otherwise, try to avoid. Because even for student, again, you have professor, you have associate professor within your team, they should train the student because they are the experts. So why you need to send for training, as if the team don't have that capacity to carry out, to execute their proposals. Okay, budgets not allowed, fees for professional bodies, reference, textbook, phone, laptop, computers, utility bills, stationery, furniture, memory cards, and space rentals. Okay, So this is the summary of the budget for the shilling for for PhD student. Now is I think this year is 2,500. This is for last year. This year is 2,500 for PhD student. For master student is 2,000. So you can, if you're planning to hire a PhD student, you can put 2,500 for this year, and for master 2,000. Okay. This is for vote 21 is for traveling. So again, within traveling within the country, you can do a oral presentation, a poster. For international traveling, it must be a presentation, but only after 2 years. 2 years onward, basically. This need to be appear evident in your methodology. Same goes for vote 27, vote 29. Better to itemize each detail, each items to be included in your purchasing later on. Other services for vote 29, as I mentioned earlier, honorarium, professional service, consultancy, proofreading, journals fee, journals APC article processing charge, you can also include it here. And again, vote 35 for only for special equipment that would allow for the project to be carried out. But again, if the project requests for 30, 40K, vote 35, I'm sure it will not get approved. If maybe if the item is only about 15K, 20K, maybe. So for me, I always avoid vote 35, but I'm not saying that you couldn't apply for vote 35. You can, but just for me, normally I will avoid vote 35. And now we go for that additional mark, the extra marks that I was talking earlier on the pattern search, on the industrial collaborations, and on the risk management is to encourage or to give awareness on the needs of having a unique or one or recent latest innovative research. Okay, so in 2021 KBT of for this pattern search, let me try to open this if you can. You need to go to this website. Yeah, so we need to go to this website, lens.org. So you need to type your, for example, I just type nano composites. Okay, so you need to put a keywords, and the dates need to be 5 years. Sorry, need to be 5 years. So maybe, okay, say 16 to 20 years. It needs to be 5 years. Okay, flags, just leave it. And jurisdictions, you need to cover 4 countries. Thailand.
Excuse me, sorry, your screen is not visible.
Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore.
Excuse me, Dr. Sukri.
Sorry.
We could see only your PPT slide.
Okay, sorry. Sorry. Let's.
Thank you.
Sorry. Or maybe when I need, earlier I only share the.
Yeah. That's reason. Yeah.
I need to share the screen, isn't it?
Yes.
Just now I select the. Okay. Okay. Let's try one more time. Can you see this now?
Yeah, now we can see. Thank you.
Okay, this is the link for you to do the pattern search. Okay, when you click the link, you will direct you to this pattern search, so that basically you need composites. Okay, the dates will be, you need to do for 5 years. Okay, the jurisdiction, you need to do 4 countries. You need to select Thailand. You need to select Indonesia. You need to select Singapore. And I think another one is Philippines. So you need to select all these 4 countries, and then you need to do the research. You need to do the search. Okay. So it gives you details, then you need to go to the analysis. Something's wrong. No. Okay, okay. Then there's a typo earlier. This will be Thailand, Indonesia, Singapore, and Philippines. Okay, and then you do search, and then you can go to the analysis. Then you have all the important data that you can use in filling up the form earlier. The form that I mentioned, this form. If you go to migrants, you have this additional info. You download this simplified pattern search report. Then you get this form. Okay. Then you have compulsory section. You have this social science section, and you have this science, technology, engineering, and mathematics section. If you're from, for example, like myself, we need to fill up the compulsory section, and also in this particular blue one, the science and technology and engineering and mathematics section, from the information that we get earlier from the pattern search we conducted using that lens.arc. Okay, so from this, again, I'm just repeating. Basically, you need to go to this website, and then in this pattern, in the form, you need to put the keyword that you type in, copy paste the report number, copy paste basically the report number from that report I showed you earlier, and then paste the link copy and paste the number of pattern found using the keyword, and then copy paste the link of that findings. Kalau earlier tadi, I need to go back. This one, you need to just copy the link and put the link in the form, and then you will direct it to here whenever the evaluator would click the link. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this is you just key in the keyword and then put all the details from the report given by the website, and then you just answer this based on the report, the compulsory section, and this is for if you are doing social science research, and if you are doing the science, technology, engineering research, then you can again respond the items here based on the information that you get from the pattern search. Okay, then you need to do a short writing about all this information here for this example. To identify the researcher is able to coherently present the compelling argument, then your answer will reflect the understanding of the applicant research advantage lah. So and then you attach this file that you already, the earlier file, this file here. This is a simple word. It's only about 500 page, 550 words. Okay, and so that is 2 marks. It's not that difficult. You can do it within a couple of hours. It's simple and easy to do. It's easy. Extra 2 marks. Collaborations, industrial collaborations, collaboration with industry project, located in industry. Bukti document, the evidence needed is basically a letter of intent. If you have MOU and MOA, much better, but the minimum one is the LOI. Okay, and finally you have risk management. There's a few sections that you need to answer. Basically, you do just the SWOT analysis. You just write a little bit on the strength and the weakness, the opportunity and the threats that you would encounter. You expect to encounter in the process of carrying out the project. So this, again, as I said, it's not really difficult to do. It's easy, one marks. Okay, and at the end of the day, when you complete everything, then you have this summary of the comments from the evaluator. For example, this one, all the comments that was commented earlier, it will come up with the overall marks, and you will see this. You will see this, and if you got rejected, then you need to do all the corrections from these comments to improve your proposal for maybe next cycle of for the next cycle of FRGS. Like earlier I was mentioning, not a good fundamental title research. What kind of characterization lead to the fundamental issues? This one that I've shown earlier. Each one of it. For example, these they just put an IP. What IP expected? Track record and composition of team. No CV provided for PI and encourage to verify the expertise of past research. CV tak letak, as well as my profile. The profile in migrant also not updated, so we cannot verify or see whether the research team is competent enough to deliver the proposal, the project. For the quality of proposal, not well prepared proposal for highly competitive FRGS. As you know, FRGS is highly competitive, and with this kind of proposal, it's not well prepared. So, of course, this is going to be a no lah. Vote 21, transportation, where to traveling. Vote 29, the item cost 10K but requested only 5K, meaning that the quotation included is cost 10K, but somehow in the list of cost requested is only 5K. Quotation 10K, for example. Okay, so that's basically the main one. What's the evaluator look for when it comes to the proposal? Okay, finally now we're going to look at some of the reasons for rejections. Rejected due to the technical reasons. This is the one that I've showed earlier. Maybe the executive summary missing objectives. The executive summary did not highlight the significance of output, then some panel maybe they give you 5 out of 10. Then the proposal can still, they can still go through the next criteria. But if they give you 4 out of 10, automatically the proposal will get rejected without even them going through all the other criteria. For example, tadi macam tadi I tunjuk, earlier I showed you earlier the PI having the expertise in subsea research, underwater, unmanned vehicle, but somehow they requested a project on composite, on the joint adhesive composites, which is not even within his expertise, and that is can easily got rejected due to technical reasons lah. Incomplete application, of course, if some of the criteria is not fulfilled and it got rejected. Apply another grant at the same time. Yes, if the project is the same. For your information, there is a similarity check in the migrants, so please be careful. If you already apply a grant and already successful apply a grant from FRGS before, and you try again, for example, with the same similar project, then there's a good chance it's going to get, if the proposal is basically just copy and paste or very high similarity, it's going to get rejected. Normally they expected the similarity to be 35% and below. The similarity check must be 35% and below. Okay, I've seen one proposal last time. They apply FRGS at the same time they apply PRGS, but the proposal is exactly the same. The title only different. So again, that also would count into high similarity and ethical issues and got rejected lah. And they usually got some telling off as well. Budget, please do not exceed the limit, and also make sure it's realistic. Sometimes like I mentioned earlier, you do a very simple project, 2 years project, somehow you requested for 150K. So need to be very realistic. Select the wrong field, as I said. You are working on engineering technology, somehow you apply under the applied science, then you will be appointed a different panel of evaluator that did not match your expertise, and then it can easily got rejected because they don't understand your term, they don't understand your what you want to do. Too many objectives. Make sure for FRGS, the minimum you have 2 objectives, maximum try not to have more than 4. 3 just nice, but if you want to have 4 objectives, it's okay, but not to have more than 4. And also best is to make sure that the proposal is within the national interest. Not sometimes that we don't have capacity, and something should be within the national interest. That's why they introduced that GIGA, they introduced the SDG and so on and so forth. Okay. I mentioned earlier about high seniority. Make sure it's below 35%. Poorly written methodology and flowchart. People lost a lot of marks in methodology. Poorly prepared flowchart. This can easily give you only 5 or 6 marks out of 10. Then you lose bunch of marks from 35%. Then no record of good research publications. Again, like I mentioned, sometimes they require trainings. You don't need trainings for a good research team members. And again, grammatical error. Grammatical error for some researchers, for some evaluators, maybe not as much. Basically, grammatical error normally would annoy the evaluator. You imagine the evaluator is reading like 20 odd plus proposals. Some evaluator, they really nitpicking on the grammatical error and things like that. So try to be on a good make sure there's no typos and everything's in order. Okay, so that's it from me. So before we go, I open for some question. I see here there's a one questions from Dr. Wong Lai Kun.
Yeah.
Okay, what if the FRGS application do not produce any PhD? Can it be approved? As I said, for a 3 years, for a 1 year, 2 year project, you are only expected to deliver one master student. But for a 3-year project, a PhD student is preferred. But if not, a 2 master student for a 3-year project. That is written in the guidelines. What is the FRGS? It's not a combination with the industry. As I said, in previous year, they encourage the project to be to have involvement with industry. But I think this year I was make known that industrial collaboration is a must, or that's why the 2 marks there. Try to fulfill that, at least a letter of intent from your industrial collaborator. Okay, I'm not sure, but I was told that this year is a must. But last year, I can tell you, it was only encouraged. There are some proposal that was approved, only having research, pattern search, and also risk management analysis, but not the collaborator. But this year I was told it's a must, but at least try to have an LOI ready. The doctor will attach the CV and the track records. I think at the end of it, I think you have this. You can attach all those CVs. You can attach all the CVs at the end of it. The track records, you need to update your migrant profile. You need to update your migrant profile, and the RMCs of the IHL need to verify your profile. Okay. Can I know what is the major reason and the application will be rejected, as I list down just now? Okay. Is there any questions direct from the audience? Yeah, maybe you can spare for a few. Maybe you can spare a few
There is
minutes.
another question, Dr. Shukri, from Amar Aslam.
How do we relate our research with SDG? Do we simply, we just simply declare it, but of course, need to be within your what you're planning to do lah. For example, if you like myself, I do for that SG9, which is innovation and technology or something like that. You also, if you're working on medicine, if you're working on poverty. So there are 17 SDGs that you can relate your work with. So you need to identify one, because it's very now. It's not just it's not just the university agenda; it's also national agenda. We need to adhere to the SDGs. All the rankings also now map their performance and their deliverables with the SDGs as well. Okay. Okay. If there's any
other questions, please, if you have, we can clarify from Dr. Shukri. Dr. Shukri, I have some question. If somebody applied a grant last year and got some points, minor points, some methodology or something they have corrected, suggested something. So can we submit the same by correcting that those corrections?
Absolutely. I'm telling you, all proposals that are prepared for FRGS eventually got approved. Meaning that if I prepared a proposal this year and it wasn't approved with the comments and everything, I would do the amendments, do the repair, or do the corrections, and then resubmit the following year. And so far, there's none of my FRGS application, even those that are rejected, eventually will get accepted. So it's like it's like preparing a paper for journals. You got rejected, you do some correction from the points and comments given by the reviewer, and you resubmit again to maybe to other journals. But for FRGS, no, you can resubmit every year. It won't count it in the similarity with the similarity index, because the similarity index is only counted, is only for those accepted
Okay, got it.
proposals before. If the proposal wasn't accepted, rejected, it's considered as a new applications. So yes, absolutely, you can revise your proposal and resubmit. Of course, there's no problem with that.
I can mention somewhere in the application that the comments has been,
No need. It's considered a new submission.
Okay.
No need. Kind of the maximum budget and minimum. So as I mentioned earlier, I think from my talks, for a 2-year project, normally you expect the budget to be around 100K and below. For a 3 years project, normally it's between 120 to 180K. Although in the guideline, it mentioned that the shilling is 250K, but for the last few years, I think the most I've seen people secure a grant for a 3-year project is about 180, 190K. Okay, so I mean, for a 3-year project, like I said, within 120 to 180. For a 2-year project, about 100K and below.
Good evening,
Okay.
Prof.
Yes.
Can you hear me, Prof? Good evening. It is a very nice presentation. Thank you for, we have got a lot of information. And my question is, last time my proposal, they have written it is well-written proposal, but due to financial restriction, we are not providing fund for this time. So what I have to do, Prof, in this case?
Okay. Normally, I would say normally that your proposal was under recommended groups. Under recommended groups, meaning that your proposal is well written, but it's not highly recommended. I would say that for proposal that is under highly recommended, most of the time it will get approved.
Okay.
For those proposals remember in my proposal earlier, in my presentations earlier, I showed you the category, the not recommended, the recommended and highly recommended. Highly recommended is when your marks is 85 and above. Recommended is 80 to 84, and 79 below will be non-recommended. I would say that yours, in that case, yours is in the 80 to 84 region. Second case. Okay. So in second case, it depends on the budget. Okay. It depends on the budget, and then the head of panel would decide that which one would they choose from the recommended category to be awarded. So most of the time, it depends on the budget. It depends on the national interest. It depends on whether the proposal is the output of the proposals. But if you are under highly recommended, most of the time, I would say that you'll get approved.
Okay, thank you, Prof. And one more question, Prof. In the recording the international conference, you mentioned you have to give which country and what is the conference title, all these things. If suppose it is your 3-year project, if 1 year it's okay, we are getting the information earlier. But if it is 3-year project, just now you mentioned after 2 year only we can go for the international conference. So that time, how we will give the by which place and what conference?
Like I said, there are some conference, like for example, in my case, for composite materials, they are ACCM. Normally, they announce it. They announce well early the next 2 venue. For example, you can do that. For example, you apply for 2 years. You can apply for next year for international traveling. But you can always even for 3 years project, you can second year you can go already.
Okay.
So you can always go apply for international travel after second year. You cannot apply in the first year. Okay. If you want to travel, you can put it in second year. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Prof. Thank you for clarification.
Dr. Shukri, regarding the combination of the industry So what
Yes.
kind of document we need to provide as industrial collaboration?
Minimum is LOI, letter of intent.
Okay. That is-
Then if you have a MOU, MOA, much better. But the minimum is a letter of intent. So it's a simple letter, intention of some work to be done, collaboration between you and the industry. That would be sufficient.
Okay.
Okay.
So whether we have to include any researcher from the industry or
Sorry, say again.
so in the same case of what Dr. Suresh just now he asked, letter of for the industrial collaboration. So LOI is more than enough, or we have to include some researchers
Yes,
from the
LOI
industry?
is more than enough.
Okay.
The question is, LOI should state the in charge person from the industry also, or just the industry name is enough?
I think should be include the researcher that to be included in the
LOI.
of course.
LOI. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So some
Thank you,
formats different, you know, some LOI won't have anything. I think Unimap having the LOI format where the researcher name also will be there. So
Yes.
that
Yes.
will be easier.
Yes. I think we yeah, I mean our legal normally have just some sort of template for the LOI so that everybody is using the same template that we can researcher can use to initiate contact with the industry and everything. Okay.
Thank you, Prof.
So any other questions from anyone? If not any other questions, I would like to thank Dr. Shukri for very insightful, informative, and very clear point to point, especially the point of in the point of the reviewers' comments. And then you are as a panel member, so this is very insightful. So how we can prepare our existing already, all of us we have some idea, some already some proposal, so we can fine tune within a short time. So we have still few days. Very last few days, so we can fine tune according to the tips we have given. Is a very informative, especially in every topic from the title, what you should not have, what are the things, the executive summary, what need to have, what should not have, and objectives and methodology, which way we can point easily 25%. So you gave very nice points there, and the very other important thing what we learned today is. This patent search, risk management, and industry link is previously it was not mandatory, and this one is mandatory now, almost like 5%. So that will be appear after completion or after achieving of 75% to the reviewers. So this is very important. Easily can be done. So that there 5 marks we can get it, and yeah, you also explained us how we can go with the patent search also, and explained us how industrial linkage documentation we can do, and risk management, everything. It was very clear and very insightful. I would like to thank Dr. Shukri for your time and
Sure, no problem.
informative.
Thanks for the invitation. Hopefully we can maybe in the future we can have maybe better communication, or maybe better maybe collaboration in any
Yeah,
work.
definitely. Dr.
from
Shukri, one more thing.
Yes.
Our FECT engineering department is actually many researchers would like to apply for the FRGS. One limitation what we have, we don't have master's or PhD program in the FECT. So what we are trying to do is collaborating with the other faculty who
Yes.
have the PG programs. So some are okay, some they try to relate to the bio related project. So some of them are couldn't relate anything other biology related project with FEC, I mean engineering. So what do you suggest for them?
Yeah, I mean there's no other way. I think they need to collaborate with the departments or the faculty that have have the postgraduate studies, because it's one of the main criteria for the
Grant approval.
For the grants. I mean, even if they apply without the having the faculty members, or having a personnel from different department having this postgraduate study, then they will have difficulties to deliver the postgraduate outcomes. So I don't think there's another way. I think they just need to find a way to collaborate with their colleagues lah.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
They need to come out with a proposal that they have a postgraduate study in the faculty. Maybe it's time.
Oh, yeah. So propose to start the postgraduate studies on the faculty. Right?
Yeah.
That is on the way. Maybe it will take some time. No, this year we should not miss. That is the reason what we are planning.
Yes, of course. For this cycle, obviously they need to come up. They need to have a. They need to secure the collaborations, of course.
Yeah. But it must be, the PG program must be in the same university. The collaborator with other university cannot, right?
No.
Yeah, because the human capital wages they will give to the university.
Correct.
So thank you so much, Dr. Shukri, for your patience and clarifying all the questions. And as your presentation is more clear, so everything we understood. So thank you so much.
Okay, thanks. Really, I'm happy to hear that. Hopefully, I mean, if you have anything question, even after this, if there's any question you want to revert back to me, just maybe you can get the contact from Dr. Venkata Suresh, and then you can provide the contact to them, and they can contact me, and I can provide the information if you want.
Yeah. So to some announcement, some information to the participants. As now it is clear for you, you have idea, you write a proposal and make sure everything is clear according to the guidance given by the Dr. Shukri. And this video is actually also recorded and also present in the YouTube. So I will send the link to all of you. And again, you go through if you have any queries. You want to refer back again the video. If you have any problem in submitting the FRGS grant through the portal, so we are planning to have another workshop or maybe a Zoom session. So if you have a ready proposal, we will try to help you how to submit it, especially the very new one who didn't apply before and have a difficulty and understanding how to submit the proposal through the FRGS My Grant portal. So some of our already successful obtained researchers are with us. So those all we will help you from the registration until the submit. We will try to help you. Maybe in the next week, I will announce the date and the link to you soon. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me today. All the best. Good luck for the FRGS this year. Salah.
Yeah, that is very important. Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye, I love you.